guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to be doing my July wrap-up. I literally cannot believe a month has already passed since June. Although I guess that's how the months work. They come one after another. So the first book I read has easily become one of my favorite books of all time. I read it in one sitting, gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Sorry to have abruptly changed the background, but the lighting was just doing something insane. This is probably the worst background I've ever had in all of history. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Eleanor and Park was the book that I was going on and on about. It's by Rainbow Rowell, and it is amazing. Kind of went into it not knowing what it was really about. Basically, it's about two characters, Eleanor and Park. I think they're about 16, they're in high school, and it's during the 80s, which is really cool. And Park is half Korean, which is just interesting for where they're from. And Eleanor is new to town. She's got wild red hair and she dresses really eccentrically. And she doesn't really fit in at school, and people bully her a lot because she is more curvaceous than other girls. But anyway, they end up becoming friends from sitting next to each other on the bus, and they both just understand what it's like to be on the outside and be different. Rainbow Rowell is so great at having stories that are very character driven. Like, I would say that there's not much like action-y plot that happens in this book until like the very end, but the characters, even the side characters as well as Eleanor and Park, are just really, really great. And I really, really loved this book. I can't even decide if I liked Fangirl or this more. I almost want to say this one because it's even more like hitting you in the feels than Fangirl, but it is just so good. I really recommend it to anybody who enjoys contemporary as well as just really well thought out characters. The next book I read, I don't physically have with me because it went back to the library, but it was Shatter Mania by Tahra Moffi. It's a dystopian, if you don't know. It's about a girl named Juliet whose touch is lethal. So if she touches you, you will die. And the book starts out with her in some sort of prison because of something that happened regarding her power, and slowly we find out that the government wants to use her power to their benefit because there's like this oppressive government. I really, really liked the writing style. I know I've heard other people found it to be frustrating. It relies very, very heavily on metaphor, but I'm really into that. And also the main character, Juliet, is a bit frantic, which I think is understandable because of how she was brought up and how her interactions have been with humans in the past. But basically she narrates it in first person, and the way it's written is basically like her thoughts. And so sometimes she repeats herself like 4 times in a row, and then there will actually be like physical slashes through thoughts that maybe she thinks are wrong. So she's like questioning herself all the time. So she might be like, he was handsome, and then cross it out and be like, he was a person, because she doesn't want to admit to her feelings and her thoughts and different things. That was a bad example, but yeah. So I really, really liked it. I'm really excited to pick up the next one. I'm actually currently reading the novella that comes between the first and second book, which is called Destroy Me, and it's in the perspective of Warner, which is one of the guy characters, which, by the way, I know that tons of people on BookTube are obsessed with Warner and ship him with Juliet, but I just have to say, homeboy seems crazy. That's why I'm kind of interested to read the novella to figure out what the big hype is about him, because he just seemed real creepy and real crazy to me from the first book. The next book I read is a fan favorite, and unfortunately I actually didn't finish it, but that is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I got to page 209 and I really liked it, and it had to go back to the library, but I really plan on getting it back so I can finish it. The next book I read was Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. So basically it's about this kid named Greg, and he's pretty much worked his whole life to have no friends. Like, he doesn't like to have personal attachments because he just feels like life is easier that way, and his only sort of friend is this really crazy black kid named Earl, and basically they just consider themselves associates because they make movies together. And there's this girl named Rachel who he knew from when he was in middle school, and his mom finds out that she's got cancer, and so she forces Greg to go hang out with him. And then the story is told in a narrative format where Greg is in first person and he's basically like writing a novel telling us what happened. And it's really great because Greg is super self-aware to the point where he's almost like so hard on himself he doesn't think he has any redeeming qualities, and his voice is just very humorous. The one thing I will say is he could be a little frustrating at times because he kept saying like, I'm a bad person, I didn't even feel anything about X, Y, and Z, whatever was happening in the story. But I really feel like deep down he did care. Although I will say it has its moments where I like shed a few tears. But I really liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars and I would recommend it. I'm really excited to watch the movie version of it. The next book I read was Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendare Blake. I actually really did enjoy this book. I picked it up randomly because I was kind of in the mood for something that would be scary. Basically, it centers around this character named Cass, who is a ghost hunter, and he travels from like city to city hunting ghosts and stuff. But it's really interesting because he's a teenager. He's only 16, but this is something that his family's been doing for a long time. And if any of you like the show Supernatural, you might like this book because it really reminded me of like Supernatural Junior, where like he could easily be right alongside like Sam and Dean. Also, a really cool thing about the book, the text, like the actual words, are written in red. The first half of the book was like spooky and had this like ultra cool vibe where I was just like, man, this is a cool book. Cass is like just a cool dude who like fights ghosts. But then I felt like the second half of the book was very, very rushed. He finds the ghost that is the main antagonist of the story, and then it just gets resolved really quickly. And then there's like this other antagonist that comes out of nowhere in like the last like 80 pages, and I just wasn't into that. So I would have given this a 5 out of 5 stars, but then it ended up kind of like letting me down a little bit. So I think I would give this like a 3.5 to 4 stars because I really enjoyed it. And it is a duology, so there's a second book, so I'm really looking forward to reading that. The next book I read, which I didn't really read because I was reading it, but then it ended up being so bad that I couldn't finish it. The Chosen Ones by Tiffany Truitt. I did not enjoy this book. I was trying to be different and read something I had never heard anyone talk about. I just was like, I'm gonna go against the booktube grain and find something new and share it with the world. Unfortunately, this is not the book to do that. It is a dystopian book where in the future, humans have made a lot of bad choices, and so we've created this race of like superhumans called the Chosen Ones. Basically, they're all male, and women can't give birth anymore for some reason, and if they try, they'll probably die. I don't know, it wasn't very well explained. I think I read about 80 to 100 pages of this and I was still confused, and the plot was like not picking up, was not good. The main character, I forget her name, but this chick right here, I could really care less about her. She was like this tough girl who tried not to feel anything because obviously romantic relationships are frowned upon because, you know, if you have a baby or something, you will die. And she like meets a chosen one and then obviously like fall in love or something. I don't know. I didn't finish this book. It wasn't good. I don't really recommend it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tiffany. The next book I read was Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I actually really enjoyed this. It took me a while to get into it because it's high fantasy and it's kind of slow to build, and it has a lot of different points of views, which I'm not really someone who minds multiple POVs, but I did feel a little bit like I was being jumped around a lot. Like sometimes we'd be getting somewhere with one character and then it would just jump to the other character, and so I didn't like love that. but I still enjoyed the book. What I will say about it is I didn't really like the writing style that much. I feel like it's very simplistic. But what I will say is I think Morgan Rhodes is a very, very good storyteller. So I think the story kind of makes up for the lack of like flowery language. It kind of felt like a YA version of Game of Thrones because there's all these different kingdoms and people like vying for power and all sorts of things, and there is a bit of like mysticism and magic. And I am looking forward to reading the next few books. I'm hoping that they're a little bit more fast-paced, which I think they will be because now that everything's been built up, like a lot of stuff went down at the end of this book. And there are so many character deaths in this book where you're just like, wait, did you really just die? What? That really kept me on the edge of my seat. So I really did like it. So I would definitely give this like a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm hoping the next books also have some better writing style because I was kind of expecting more in that department. And the last book I read, I actually haven't finished, but I have a feeling that I will finish it this weekend. And so I just want to include it in my July wrap-up. Hyperbole and a Half by Ali Brosh. I realized in all my other videos I was saying Ali Bosch because for some reason I was not seeing the R here in her name. But yeah, this is a graphic novel, basically like a memoir sort of thing about her life. And this is really weird. I'm probably just a really bad feminist, but I always assumed that Ali Brosh was a man. I don't know why. Maybe society has just like socialized me to think that way. Especially now that I'm seeing like this is a ponytail and this is a dress. But this book is hilarious. She just has such a great sense of humor. It's very like self-deprecating, but it's very funny and I just really enjoy it. Yeah, so those were all the books I read this month. It might seem like I had a good reading month, but I really didn't because like 3 of those books I read in the first week and a half, and then all these other ones have just been so slow going this month. I spent so much time watching YouTube videos and booktube videos and pretty much doing everything besides reading. But yeah, so thanks for sitting through this. Thanks for watching my face. Let me know what books you read this month down below and we can chat about it. And thanks for watching, you beautiful people.